The new teacher's smile seemed too calm for someone surrounded by troublemakers, but when those bullies cornered her in the library, they didn't realize they were about to awaken something far darker than their worst nightmare. Keep reading till the end, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking true-inspired stories that hit harder than karma itself. When Miss Arya Lane walked into Crestwood High, every student whispered that she wouldn't last a week. The school had a reputation. Teachers came and went like shadows, scared off by a group of notorious seniors led by Dylan Cole, a rich kid whose father practically owned half the town, and whose arrogance matched his family's money. The rest of his crew, Lena, Mason, and Bryce, treated the school like their personal stage, feeding on fear, humiliating anyone they could, and ensuring no authority figure dared challenge them. But the moment Arya stepped into her first class, something about her unnerved them. She wasn't young enough to be naive nor old enough to be broken. Her voice was soft, controlled, yet it carried a weight that silenced even the loudest whispers. When she introduced herself with that calm smile and a mysterious glint in her gray eyes, Dylan smirked and muttered, "Another one for the slaughter." What they didn't know, what none of them could possibly imagine, was that Arya Lane wasn't just a teacher. She had come to Crestwood for a reason, and it had nothing to do with teaching literature. For the first few weeks, she let them test her patience. They mocked her handwriting, spilled drinks on her desk, swapped her notes, and even locked her classroom from the outside once. But every time, Arya responded with unsettling composure. She'd just look at them, almost like she was studying them, memorizing something behind their eyes. The bullies took her silence as weakness, but in truth, it was calculation. Arya had seen this before, different faces, same cruelty. Years ago, she had been a student like the ones they tormented. And she remembered how helpless she felt when no one stood up for her friend Mia, who disappeared one night after being bullied to the point of breaking. That memory wasn't just a scar, it was her mission. Arya wasn't there to teach grammar. She was there to teach consequences. It all escalated one stormy afternoon when she stayed late to finish grading papers in the library. The hallways were empty, the lights flickering from the rain outside, and she could hear the faint hum of thunder echoing through the old building. That's when the door creaked open and Dylan's voice filled the silence. Well, Miss Lane all alone." Arya didn't look up, she just turned a page, as if expecting them. Mason closed the door behind him, Bryce locked it, and Lena leaned against a shelf with her phone, recording. "You've been giving us bad grades," Dylan said, stepping closer. "That's not very smart, considering how things work around here." Arya finally looked up, her eyes sharp as a blade. "Are you threatening me, Dylan?" she asked softly. He smirked. "It's not a threat, just a little reminder that teachers who cross us don't stay long." They surrounded her, and Bryce snatched her papers, tossing them across the floor. Mason grabbed her arm when she tried to pick them up, pinning her against the bookshelf. The others laughed, until her expression changed. Gone was the calm teacher facade. Her lips curled slightly, eyes gleaming with something predatory. "Big mistake," she whispered. In one motion, she twisted Mason's wrist, forcing him to his knees with a gasp of pain. Before the others could react, she slammed a heavy book against Bryce's chest, knocking the wind out of him. Dylan lunged, furious, but Arya sidestepped and swept his legs with precision no normal teacher should have. He hit the floor hard, staring up in shock as she towered over him, breathing steady. "What are you, some kind of psycho?" Lena stammered. Arya turned toward her slowly, that same eerie calm returning. "Not a psycho, Lena. Just someone who learned how to deal with bullies." She stepped closer until the girl backed into a corner, trembling. "You think I didn't know what you'd try? You've been playing this game too long. Time someone showed you the cost." Then, instead of calling for help, Arya walked past them, locked the door from the inside, and sat back down. The students exchanged uneasy glances. "You're not leaving," she said. "Not until we're done." What followed that night became the stuff of whispered legend at Crestwood. She made them sit, every single one, around the library table. She retrieved a small metal box from her bag and opened it, revealing a collection of old photos, articles, and police reports. "Recognize her?" she asked, sliding a picture of a young girl with kind eyes across the table. "Her name was Mia, my friend. She went to this school years ago. She was bullied, humiliated, and one night she vanished. Police called it suicide. I called it murder." Dylan's smirk vanished. "You're insane," he muttered, but his voice shook. "Maybe," Arya said, but not as insane as the people who covered it up. Like your father, Dylan. He made sure it was buried because his son and his friends were involved. Silence dropped like a blade. The color drained from his face. Lena's phone slipped from her hands. You're lying, Mason hissed. Am I? Arya replied, sliding another paper across the table, a printed confession, a recording file, evidence she had spent years gathering. I came back for justice, she said quietly. And I'm giving you a chance to face what you've done, or I'll make sure the world knows. Suddenly, the library lights flickered off, and the storm outside roared. In the darkness, the sound of crying filled the air, Lena, hysterical, Mason whispering prayers, Bryce clutching his chest. Dylan stood up, trying to call his father, but his phone had no signal. You can't do this, he shouted. You'll go to jail. Arya smiled in the dark. I already did, she whispered, her voice echoing. For something I didn't do, because of you. Then came the twist none of them could have expected. From the far corner of the library, another figure stepped out, a girl, pale and quiet, soaked from the rain. Her face was familiar, too familiar. Lena screamed. No, that's impossible. Dylan stumbled back, eyes wide. It was Mia, or at least, someone who looked exactly like her. The girl said nothing, just stared, her expression empty, haunting. You see her, Arya said softly. Good, maybe now you understand what guilt is. It doesn't die. It just waits. Whether it was a ghost, a trick, or a hallucination from fear, none of them knew. But by morning, the police found the bullies in the library, trembling, unable to speak coherently about what happened. Arya was gone. No trace. Only her ID badge remained on the table beside that photo of Mia. The investigation that followed ripped Crestwood apart. Dylan's father's corruption was exposed, several teachers confessed to covering up the old case, and the truth about Mia's death finally surfaced. She had been pushed too far during one of Dylan's games, and instead of helping, they'd hidden her body near the old gym foundation. The revelation made national headlines. Weeks later, a journalist claimed to have spotted Arya Lane in another state, teaching under a new name, helping troubled kids heal from trauma. Some said she was a vigilante, others a ghost herself, avenging what society forgot. But those who were there that night, the ones in that library, never forgot her face, her words, or the chilling calm in her voice when she said, "There's always someone stronger than a bully." Years later, Dylan tried to rebuild his life, but every time he walked past a mirror, he swore he saw Mia's reflection beside his own. Lena never spoke again publicly, Mason turned to religion, Bryce vanished entirely. And Crestwood High, once the pride of its district, closed down after another strange fire gutted the old library where it all began. They said it was lightning, but the locals whispered otherwise. They said they'd seen a woman standing by the flames, her eyes glowing gray in the smoke, smiling faintly before walking into the storm. If you've ever laughed at someone weaker, remember this story, because karma doesn't always wait, and sometimes, the quiet ones are the ones you should fear most. Subscribe for more intense revenge tales that remind you, power can come from the softest voice, and justice always finds a way.